Welcome back to the glistening semi-tropical streets of London as we talk about the recent Dirty Bomb Balance update. I think it's fair to say that this update was both long overdue in its timescale, but also contentious in what and how it changed things around. But before we delve into some specifics, I wanted to talk about the whole idea of balance updates and why I think, in Dirty Bomb, it's in a slightly different situation to other games. Let's get out of the way the notion that changes to the meta, the current thinking of what's best or at least in fashion, are in itself bad. Anyone who's complained about burst rifles in the past year or so will attest to more regular tweaks being necessary. But let's take a step back for a second, and I should warn you, I'm about to use some language, an O-word that many of you will find offensive. But in Overwatch, when balance updates are implemented, heroes are pushed in and out of fashion. It might be the 6-shooter pistol of McCree that takes a nerf, or the consistent output of Soldier 76 that now looks better. But in Overwatch, the process of moving from one character to another is fairly painless. In fact, Overwatch is based around that idea, but don't get me started on that. You learn the new hero, and then you move on. Changes aren't too easy to take if you look at a game like, say, Paladins. Okay, you can unlock all the characters for around £15, but with the card system as well, to get the right setup, it means that balance changes that come along and hit you can sting a little bit more. And that's when we turn back to now look at Dirty Bomb. Not only do we have to unlock each merc, but there's a process to getting the specific loadout card you want as well. So if you're like me, there tends to be one primary weapon per merc that simply suits you best. So to get that specific loadout in that specific skin that you want, Team Silver Carbon for life obviously, it can be a laborious and in some cases expensive task if you've invested money in cases and so on. So when suddenly your favourite primary, let's call it the BR16 as a totally random example, takes a solid nerf, well in DB it can feel really quite bad. It's not just about adjusting to the new meta, it kind of undermines all the effort that went into making that previously perfect card. Plus the knowledge that in the process of making that previous card, you probably threw away what is now your perfect card. Meta changes are important for games, not only for balance reasons, but also they can be about keeping things fresh and pushing the community into content that was previously unfashionable. But it's only a smooth process when every player has access to all of the content. And for the average Dirty Bomb player, this means that that transition can feel really rather rubbish. I'm sort of defending the idea of meta changes more than I'm defending the actual changes that we saw though. There were a number of adjustments that I found to be questionable, and others that I think were totally at odds with the normal DB focus. I would admit to the Dryce AR being a favourite of mine. It didn't seem to get much use compared to the burst alternatives, but it was one of my go-tos. According to the release notes, the Dryce AR is fairly balanced in low-level play, but it outperforms other assault rifles in high-level play. One issue I have with arguing these changes is that I don't have a suite of data like the devs do. Everything about my impression of DB is from my position as being a long-term player with terrible aim. I also don't know what outperforms other assault rifles in high-level play actually means. Is that numerically given the weapon stats, or is that based on frags per minute or a bunch of other stats? Because I have a very difficult time imagining that the Dryce outperformed the M4. Put simply, I think that horizontal recoil undermines the long-standing Dirty Bomb focus on tracking aim. If the justification in nerfing the burst rifles by increasing the time between the shots so people need to track, then also adding in RNG to the sideways movement of the crosshair is at odds with that choice for DB. And unfortunately, massive percentage increases in horizontal recoil were all over this balance update. My beloved Dryce took a 35% increase, as did the BR16. The Stark took a 50% increase in horizontal recoil, and the Grandeur must have annoyed someone as it walked home with a 70% increase. So how does the Dryce play now? Well, initially it kind of felt okay. The damage is lower, but it's still usable. But then you notice the spread and the crosshair movement, and now it just feels like I'm rolling some RNG every time I shoot and hoping for the best. The reliability feels less, and it's less fun to use. The changes to some of the snipers were a cause for concern too, mainly for the direction they were moving in. My position for snipers has generally been that they should have a very high skill ceiling. If you can land headshots, then the game should reward you substantially for it. It was the main reason that I wasn't someone who was bothered by the insta-gib headshots that were more regular a while back in the game. So for me, when I see changes to reduce the headshot multiplier, I believe that is in the wrong direction. The game should incentivize players to go for the head over all other shots. I reject the notion that mercs should be picked equally, or that every merc should have an easy path to learn. For snipers, it should be about high risk, high reward. The absolute worst change in this regard for me were the changes to the PvP. The inclusion of both a reduction in the headshot multiplier from 2.5 to 2, and a flat increase in the damage from 40 to 50. So when you're picking your shots, body shots are now worth more, headshots are worth less. I'm sorry, but I think this is completely the wrong direction for the game. The shotguns, well, it's perhaps not the nerf people were expecting. It's arguably more of a rework. They lost their headshot multiplier, some flat damage, and have taken a sizable kick up in vertical recoil. On the other side, they've got a lot less spread and more range. We should probably start thinking about them as semi-slug shotguns now. In the right hands, they are still incredibly powerful. I'm not actually that bothered by these changes. My worry would be more about how the average player reacts to being killed by a Remberg, or especially the Arnold, at range. They don't feel very shotgunny at the moment. I'm certainly losing more fights with my Blishlock, where previously I'd have felt I was outside of their range. But then again, I've not been insta-deleted while playing Aura by a rogue proxy like I used to either. I think shotguns are in an interesting place at the moment, but it doesn't feel like a natural place. Maybe over time it will. I want to know what you think of these recent balance changes. Leave a comment below now, tell me how you feel the changes are. I made a Facebook page for the channel as well, so if you're that way inclined, I'll be posting these videos and other stuff up there too, if you want to stay in touch that way. I'll link that in the description below. As always, you can follow me on Twitter, I'm at LCTRGames. I'll pop a link below for that as well. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care.